joining in on the powerhouses of the global corporate stage. My name is Lovely Marshall, and I am so excited to have this incredible guest with us today. This is over 10 years
Yes.
friendship, being in corporate America together, really built some amazing things. Welcome, 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 Doctor.
Yeah.
Hammond, can you please give an introduction to yourself? Let people know how you've been a corporate inspiration, how you transition, y'all. She is a mom, a wife, just everything. I have truly looked up to this amazing woman and just celebrated her as her journey has grown and pivoted and how she's moved all over the world, y'all.
Yeah. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this platform because you are doing amazing things. So thank you. Thank you. Dr. Davetta Hammond, I have been in this corporate space and the healthcare arena for over 30 years now. Over 30 years. We've done some great work together, 10 plus years. But a little bit about myself, I am a medical health advisor. I started off just running the gamut in healthcare, working in clinic and then moving into the hospital system and then finally into corporate. And ultimately moving from an independent consultant into a full-fledged business owner. I know. Yes. Yeah. So all the things I'm a wife. My husband is retired from the United States Marine Corps. He served almost 25 years. So he is in his third year of retirement. Going into his fourth year. I've pulled him out of retirement. So he is helping in the business now. I'm a mom of four, ages almost 34 years old to 15. So just living, I would say I am living my best life right now. I am. Yeah.
Love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. This has been so amazing because I think one of the incredible things about connecting with her that I really think a lot of people should get on, me and her work together, but not in the same department. So she was a mentor of mine. I was new, just trying to figure things out. This was a brand new territory. So for healthcare, for so many other organizations, as you build, as you grow, you try to build your territory. And we were a part of a territory that did not like the company that we were with. And we were trying our best to get them to love on us again, to really start speaking positive about the organization. And her and I really just got a system going. We would be out, y'all, in Magnolia, in
Yeah.
Jackson County. It was crazy, or Brazoria County, right? Brazoria County.
Right.
It was just amazing. And when you are driving for long periods of time, then you get a chance to get to know each other. And I was just inspired by her because she was like, "Hey, I moved from here and I have three kids." And so you have three at the time. No,
I had three at the time. Yes, I had three at
you
the
just
time.
had the baby, I think. And I was just like,
Yes.
wow, you're doing all of this. And it was so nice, especially for a Black woman. I was a single mom at the time, hadn't got married yet. And it was just such a incredible inspiration to see somebody who liked, loved, and respect her husband, but was doing her own thing. And so I just really want to just tell you, thank you so much. While you were not my direct superior, you really was such a great inspiration for me. You were a corporate inspiration on so many levels.
Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. And you went back to the time where we were pushing forward this message to providers to re-engage, right? I almost forgot about that part of it, right? Because we were into the numbers and really driving and wanting success to look just revenue driven, right? That's what we were. But when you reminded me in this moment of there was a message that we were trying to shift. There was this message where we were trying to re-engage, these providers because we really needed them in order to impact the revenue. And they had basically said, we're done, we're finished.
Exactly. They
We
were
will
like,
not
bye.
participate.
We don't want you.
We
We don't
don't
want
want
nothing to do with
you.
this company, nothing.
We don't want you. And so we were out there, two women driven,
Yes.
and we
Mm-hmm.
were, and you took me back to that moment. We were, first and foremost, we had to sort of reinvent the wheel. We
Yes.
had to do things from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did that, right? We went
Yes.
into these spaces, we went into the doctor's offices with this new messaging that we are now your
Mm-hmm.
partners, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it was even bigger, I would say, than what we imagined, because not only were we saying that we were going to be their partners, but they
Mm-hmm.
saw this unity and allegiance that you and I had with each
Yes.
other. And
Yes.
that was part of, really getting our foot in the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have to go in there alone. And so, first of all, I want to say thank you for reminding me of that, because that's a part of that journey that I'd forgotten. I talk
Mm-hmm.
about that journey and I talk about the numbers that we did because we were
Mm-hmm.
able to be very
We
successful.
did. Yes. We
We
went from literally of them turning people away. Like they were like,
Yes.
I don't want to see any new customers, nothing, to doctors who had for 5 years had a closed panel open up their panel. And for those of you all who are like, why is my doctor not accepting my insurance anymore? 9 times out of 10, it's because it's some revenue issues. They didn't get
Yes.
paid. And we were able to turn that around. And it was just so
Yes.
nice because, like, when people didn't necessarily like my messaging, they liked her because she was like, when you do this, you can make more money and you could. So it really was a mastermind community that you and I built. Like, that was
It
the
was.
best relationship ever.
Let me share something with you, because I'm not sure if you received this information, but I had spoken with one of our other colleagues who was part of our team, and she shared with me the physicians within that organization. They became the top physicians in risk adjustment for Medicare, the top.
Wow.
Yes. And I hadn't received the numbers. I knew revenue wise, they had done well.
Yeah.
They started off, I want to say they were projected our second or third year in the market to
Mm.
maybe be around 10 million. And before
Wow.
I left, they projected 20 million when we closed the project out. So
Wow.
not even just the revenue piece. And like I said, I didn't know if you knew
Yeah.
this, but not even the revenue piece of it. Those physicians, based on their RAF score, right? So their score
Yes.
in the
Mhm.
industry. And when we started working with those physicians, they were at, and I know this probably doesn't mean a whole lot to folks, but just to put it into context, they started at a 0.7, and industry standard,
Yeah.
they needed to be over a 1. Many of
Yeah.
those providers were 1.2 when we left,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so they
It was
moved
it was
to the top
amazing for that
rank.
transformation. Like, and this is, I want to like to go back deep into this. This was back in the days where doctors had chicken scratch. This wasn't where they were in the medical charts and everything. This was literally her spending hours looking through the charts, me
Yes.
taking those charts, having them in my cart, like sealing them up because these were like patients protected health information. This was not like today's standard where you can
No.
send over a message and everything. No, this was truly paper charts of her like trying to figure out, what the heck does this say? Does it say hepatitis? Does it say hypertension? Like, it was
Yes.
bad.
Yes, absolutely. So you are bringing back, and I always say timing is everything. And being at this pinnacle of like where I am in my journey professionally, it's so good to go back and have this conversation, because as we know, we've gone from the chicken scratch to now where they have electronic medical records. Everything is digitized, right? But going back to that time and just the challenges that we were faced with, and we were still able to overcome. So I really, there's a thread here, right? And the thread that I'm picking up, and I don't know if you're picking this up as well, but the thread and the common message is we don't have to do anything alone.
Please, please don't do it alone.
You don't
Please
have to do
don't do it
anything alone.
alone. You are able to get so much more when you have a community, like
Yes.
really, truly for everything that you have. And I think what I loved about our relationship is you were a spokesperson for me
Wow.
outside of my department because, I was the young, shiny little girl,
Yes.
still the shiny person, but like I was a young, shiny person. And I know people were like, okay, who is she? I'm not listening to her. And
Yes.
then you came in and you provided a different messaging, but it was really us being able to echo each other. And I loved our synergy. Like I learned that word
Yes.
about 10 years ago by working with her about like really having a synergy of people. And it was so incredible because I went from connecting and working with you to being promoted and then like going to another company and like getting those lessons learned that I learned from her, and it like really um fast track my career because it was like, okay, I now need collaborations. Like it was our relationship that we had that it was like, I'm no longer going at this alone. I need somebody to like go with me and be in the thick of it. And so my medical coders, like that was always when I was in the healthcare. And it's so crazy because I literally went from like healthcare having medical coders to like software engineers who are my coders still like in
Yes.
product management. So it's still like different knowledge, but being able to again like up level those scores of like how bad it is for Facebook product and making it better, and how it was bad for healthcare and making it better. Like, wow, this is like really bringing back memories.
It is. And you mentioned going from, having the medical auditors and the coders from that perspective to going to the digital coders. And I'm sure just what I know of you and what you brought, it's nice to hear that I gave you so much, but you also were open and available to receive. That's a different perspective, right? Because we've had situations and partnerships where there was contention, right? And so you couldn't move a project forward. And I don't think we talk enough about that and how do you overcome. And sometimes we have to understand that, we have to be open to being a student and teacher in the same relationship. And there were times where we would be on those long drives where I was a student. You were teaching me, right? Your experience, being new in the industry, what you were faced with and how you were navigating. So there were moments on those long rides throughout Houston that I became student and teacher. And so there's so many messages, there's so many messages here today. Collaboration, staying open and available, making sure that you're teachable, but also knowing that you have enough worth to be a teacher. You have enough experience
Yes,
in your life to
yes,
be a teacher. So you went from the healthcare into Facebook, but you still took the
mhm,
experience of collaboration,
yes,
right?
yes,
And look at where
yes.
you are now.
Yes, and I tell people that like a lot of times because a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, lovely, you don't have a degree." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. Don't get it twisted. No degree does not mean no experience. I
Right.
have 20 plus years of experience, but the degree wasn't required. Like you don't necessarily need the degree, and that's not necessarily the case for everybody. Like some people might need the degree. It just for me, again, I was a single mom. And so it was, okay, do you continue with this degree or do you get a job right now that pays you $14 an hour so you can be able to feed these two children that you have? So it was, I needed to do it. And by having that experience, and again, people really just loving on you, but you also, again, being open to it because even the one thing that I loved about your career that I don't think people really highlight enough of,
Mm.
she went from being in the market, and I think you went to Virginia, right? And, like, they still paid her, y'all. This was before remote work, and that's why I left the company because I was like, "Wait a minute, she is in a whole 'nother state, and
Working.
we are still getting value from
Yes.
her insights and her gift and everything." This was when we had WebEx. This was before the Zoom days. This
Yes.
was like we were pure on WebEx, and you really helped me to elevate my value just by being able to see like, wow, like, okay, I don't necessarily need to be here in order to do it. So you really were, your life was just such a living teaching moment. And I don't think I ever like got a chance to like tell you that because life has just been happening, but I am just so grateful for you. Like we have prayed, cried, thanked
Yes.
each other, but I am truly, truly grateful for you.
Wow. Thank you. You are bringing up just so many memories on the journey that we've had professionally. And you're right, going back to before telework, before work from home. But I want to take it a step further. I want to go back just a bit further into my career. And probably about 25 years ago, I saw my worth, right? I saw my worth. And what I started doing, and I want to share this with folks who will listen to this, is once you understand your worth, right, and your value, there's a level of confidence that will come, not arrogancy, not ego, but a level of confidence that will serve you. Okay. And some may say, well, how did you identify your worth? And it was really getting around and aligning with folks who were doing what I aspired to do. I saw 25 years ago a practice manager running an office that I was a medical, well, it was I was a medical health advisor, but not in the aspect of what you see me now. And so I saw how this professional moved throughout that organization, and I attached myself to her, right? And so the one thing that I teeter on is attaching myself to an individual who's doing something that I aspire to do, because the waters
Exactly.
get muddy in folks saying,
Yes.
"Oh, well, you're opportunistic, right? You're trying
Yeah.
to hold on to someone's coattails." So I really want to clear that up.
Mhm. Yeah.
There is an opportunity there that I seek. There is an
Yeah.
opportunity that you sought out,
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
connected yourself with me. And so when I go back to the 25, 30 years ago, I remember, one, I didn't understand my value and my worth until I aligned myself with someone who was doing what I aspired to do. And that's exactly what you did. And so we want to encourage others to do the same thing, and not to reach out to see just what you can get, but what can you give in that relationship?
Exactly. Exactly.
What can you give?
100%.
What can I give? Because we have this misconception that because you have someone who's leading, there's nothing that you have to offer. There's always something that you have to offer.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's what we
Absolutely.
learned in the professional space, is that you and I were both giving to each other, but we were
Mhm.
digging into that work like no one had ever
Oh
dug into
my
that
gosh.
work
Oh my
before.
god. And it was so empowering because there was stuff that while you weren't there, I could speak to. And then while you were doing visits, you were like, okay, I know that she's doing this, she's working on this. Your provider relations rep, like it was so incredible. Like we created this whole treasure map where we were like, okay, as a provider, X marks the spot. You first got to verify, are they one of your customers? Then the next thing you have to do, it was just ways that we were trying to be interactive. And I love that. Like, I want to go back to what you said. Like, people I feel like that opportunist words is sort of like shame. You should be an opportunist. If you are not looking for ways to better yourself, then shame on
Absolutely.
you. Like I
Yeah.
constantly am looking at people who are 5, 10 levels ahead of me. And I'm like, okay, what are they doing? How can I be able to do it? And the one thing that I love that she just said, like, so everybody is sort of on a train. And you just decide to get on which train.
That's
Some people train, they stop. I decide to get on the train where the person, they might be 3, 5 carts ahead of me, but I'm still moving because I'm no longer stuck where I was. Even if I'm just 5 stops ahead, I'm 5 stops ahead of where I was. And I think that not enough people really recognize that, but also too, in terms of a relationship, sometimes you may need to invest in order to get further.
amazing.
Like you have to pay to get on a train. You might need to invest because I have so many people reach out to me. They're like, Lovely, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And I'm like, my help is my time. And
Absolutely.
if I say yes to you for my time, and that means no to my family, no to the things that I want to do, then you have to provide some sort of investments. Like, what am I getting in exchange? Are you going to be teaching me something new? Like, I can't necessarily give you everything that this is my business per se. And
Yes.
I'm learning how to do that as well. Like, like people may take advantage of the opportunities because they want things for free. But like you said, it's that exchange, it's an exchange.
And when you're investing, when you are putting resources into an opportunity, you're not only saying to the person that you're, pouring those resources into, you're also saying to yourself, the value and worth that I have means much more than I can even see today, right? That investment, we're talking 15 years, you and I later, right? And so what we poured into each other then brings us to today, right? You have an amazing platform. You are doing wonderful things in this space. We are both still very eager, as eager as we were then that we are now. And so it's where you step back and say, okay, am I going to take the time to really invest not only in myself, but I'm going to invest in the person that I'm pouring resources into, right? Because, like, and you said something, you said by you saying yes to a free moment, it's impacting a moment that's going to cost you something later, whether it is with your family, whether it's with your husband, whether it's with your business. So if we're always saying free, and we give a lot of our time, right? You do work that is free, but there's moments where you have to look at your future 15 years down the line and say, how much of what I'm giving now is going to pay off for me in the future? And there is nothing wrong with that. We have to normalize, what we know worked, right? That folks don't want to talk about. And you mentioned me being an opportunistic person. And I really believe it goes back to the intention, right? Am I only looking at this opportunity for myself? Or am I looking at this opportunity to say, I am going to get something, but I'm also going to give something? And I believe that's why we've had 15 years in the game together. And, we're here today having this conversation.
Yes, absolutely. So I love that, you now have your business and you've been a corporate inspiration, medical coder, went back to school, did all of this, y'all, navigating, moving, all of the various challenges. COVID, it's just been a roller coaster ride. So what was it like that when you first started? Like, what was it that you imagined yourself doing? Like when you were a kid versus what you're currently doing now?
Ooh, I love that question. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a medical doctor. Like, I wanted to go to medical school. And as I got older and really started understanding what it took to go to medical school, I had this fear of like death and dead bodies and dying. And so this is why it's so important for us to educate our children and those around us, because no one said to me that, you don't have to just practice in clinic, right? You can go to medical school to be an educator. You can go to medical school to be an advisor. And so because I only knew through my lens that, oh, I would have to have this cadaver that I would have to work on. I had I had misconceptions about medical school that just did not line up to reality and truth and fact. And so I didn't take that route. Today, what I get to experience is I get to sit with medical doctors and I get to work with them on a regular basis. And I get to talk about all the wonderful things that I love: hypertensive heart disease, diabetes with chronic complications, secondary hypocoagulable state, like atherosclerosis of the aorta. I get to talk about all of those things that connects me with my purpose, right? Because the purpose was there when I was a child. And so I don't have to serve as a medical doctor, but I still get to serve in the place of caring and giving and making sure that my community is healthy and they understand how disease impacts their future. And I didn't have to go to medical school.
I love that. I love that, like, how you can still relate what you wanted to do ultimately,
Yeah.
like, and navigated it to you, and that's so incredible. I recently, my family and I, we discovered a lot of things. So, like, when I was a kid, I only wanted to go to nursing school because it was my mother's dream. She couldn't afford to go to nursing school. She grew up in a different time, and I flunked out of nursing school. I got accepted to nursing school, went to nursing school at KU, and for years, I felt as if I was a failure because I didn't finish nursing school. And people would be like, "Hey, nursing school, and then, like, how'd you end up here?" And I was like, "Oh, it was because of death." And that was a part of it. I did have an incident where I had a patient that did die, but ultimately it wasn't my dream. And for years I felt like as if I was a failure because it wasn't my dream. Like, it was only until I went to therapy and I was talking and I was like, "Yeah, when I was a kid, my mom told me she wanted to be a nurse. So I went to nursing school." And she was like, "Wait, what? Like, you only wanted to do something because somebody else, so you attached failure to you and it wasn't even your dream." And I hope, like, for those of you all who are in corporate America, corporate around the stage, because we had Spain here, that if you are a corporate inspiration and if you are like, this is not serving me anymore, that you do feel empowered because as Dr. Hammond just stated, that you can do so much with any degree, with
Yeah.
any experience. You can do so much. And please don't be like me for so long that I attached failure as a part of me, sold it on my heart, and let everybody like know that where I would hope that you can move forward. And now that I'm really understanding the power of people failing, that it really does give you an opportunity of getting better. Like today, me and her, we were trying to do some technical difficulty. So now I wrote that down where I'm like, okay, I need to do this better because for the next time, I want my guests to have an opportunity to have their channels on here. I'm learning that it doesn't mean that this podcast wasn't a success. It's an incredible conversation. So
Yeah.
I hope that so many people like have that. Have you had that in your times where you were like, this didn't go well, and then you felt that you yourself like attached that to you instead of saying that this opportunity in me are two separate different things, like not attaching it to you?
Yeah, and that's such a great question. And as you were sharing how you took on someone else's dream, and because that was not your dream, it was never going to work out for you, right? It was never going to align. And what I've learned, because I'm a little bit older than you are, so have some years under my belt. what I have learned and continue to learn is that when things don't align, I just believe, because of my experience, I just believe there's something greater. I just believe that this is not my thing. This is not my relationship. This is not the job. This is not the project. And so, because I've had experiences where I did attach it, personally, I was listening to another speaker, and she shared with how professionally we try to keep profession and personal separate, which your profession is very personal, right? But you have to understand how you respond from that perspective. And so the thing I will go back to you saying is, was there anything that has ever happened to me where I attached it from a personal perspective and it didn't work out the way that I thought? Absolutely. I won't go into detail, but I will tell you it didn't work out in that moment because I wasn't ready for it. Right. And so I had an opportunity 14 years later. The same situation presented itself. And because I make sure that, you mentioned therapy, I've done therapy, continue and will continue to always have that resource available to me, is not just from a reactive relationship, but a prospective relationship. Like, okay, let's keep this going. So the thing I will say to you is, let me take that back, because you opened up so much with that question. Yes, I did have that experience. In the moment, I didn't know that it was happening for me. I didn't know in the moment that I wasn't ready for it. I blamed the individual. I blamed the situation. I blamed everything that was in my path. But what I knew throughout my experiences and time in this space is I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't prepared for it. And so, very same identical situation presented itself 14 years later. And you know what I did? I used everything I knew from that situation and I poured it into this new opportunity. And so, on the other side of that, I had a favorable outcome because I was ready. So we have to be so careful in thinking that when things don't work out, it's someone else's fault. And it could be. But in my experience, the one that sticks with me the most is I was not ready for it. And so now, 14, 15 years later, I am ready for it. And there's a
I
different
love that. I love that it still allowed you as an opportunity to do it, which again, it goes back to the powerhouse. They know their worth. Hey, I know I'm worthy of it now. I know I'm deserving of it. Like, let me go ahead and do it. Like, don't cut it off. So I love that. That is absolutely amazing. Um my question to you, because I felt like this really goes into you being a corporate inspiration, but what was something that you enjoyed most about being a role model? I would say a real model, because you were a real, it wasn't just a role you were playing. But what did you enjoy most about being a role model? And like, how did it come about of you being like this mentor? I know for me, like how it came back, because I was like, okay, I like you. I need to learn some stuff. But how
time.
did you sort of evolve into this incredible woman?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. The one thing that I will say, Lovely, is I've always had this path that's just organically evolved and has happened. So I didn't set out to be your role model or your real model or your mentor. I've always had an open mind. I've always had an open heart, and I've always held space for those that I interact with. That's always been since I was a kid. And so when you're open, right, which means you're transparent, which means I'm not showing up as perfect, you're going to see me fail and fall forward, and we're going to learn together. Those relationships, for me to have opportunities where I could be a real model for you or a mentor for you, they happen organically because I stayed open, because I wasn't looking and seeking to be a teacher, and always remembering that I'm going to learn something along the way also. right? So just naturally, even now, I found myself into this organic space of being mentor to a group of young women who are so amazing. Many of them have businesses that they are very successful at, and they're learning along the way. And that all happened naturally and organically because I just stay open and transparent and say, you know what? I may not have the answers, but we're going to find them together. And that's what you and I did. And that's what I continue to do in this space.
It. I love that. And I think what I love most about you and other women especially is you are not just you. When you come into work, you are a wife, you are a mom, you have all of these challenges. I mean, and then you are a Black woman, and we literally, I think maybe 90% of the physicians that we talked to was not like us, and
Correct.
that was just a different thing. I mean, and even they weren't even raised here in America. I think, like, several of them were, like, Southeast Asian, so, like, we had to identify with their cultures. It was
Yes.
completely different, nuances that we had to overcome. And how have you, or what advice would I guess I would ask is, what advice would you have for people, because you had to navigate the fact of your kids, like, they moved here, they had to go to different schools, and then they moved again. But then you also had the challenges of being a wife. So how did you do that? And, like, I can't say one advice because there's so many things, but, like, what was something that was sort of your mantra that helped you through that?
All of these are such great questions. I love them all. And I love this question because I think as women, wives, and mothers, or some of us caregivers, we don't lead with our reality. And so I say that every partnership, every contract that I'm getting, every job that I'm working, I lead with this is my reality. I am a wife. At the time that you and I met, and I don't even know if you really knew the full detail of it, but my husband was stationed in a whole different state for 5 of those 7 years that I was in Houston. So I was truly single parenting and being a wife long distance. I led with that. When we interviewed with that company, I led with that. I said, here's my reality. I am a mom. My husband's not here. We don't have family here. So I learned early on to lead with that and allow the other person to either choose me or not. That wasn't something that came with ease. It was not, because my previous experiences, when I wanted to take off for the kids or I wanted to go to the school, it was such a, like, pulling teeth. They wanted me to choose the company over my child getting an award. And so I learned, just through maturity and experience that, oh, I need to lead with this. I need to have conversations that I am here in Houston alone. I don't have family members. I have 3 children. We see my husband on the weekends. So me being active with my children is important. So I just lead with that in partnerships, in collaboration. I'm transparent so that folks know that there's not these unspoken expectations that I won't be able to hold up to.
I love that you lead with the reality, and I have never heard that being said, but I do. I love that so much because I think for me, I would hide my reality. I was so afraid, like, for the longest. I mean, I worked at Facebook for 3 years, and I think they found out I had kids, like, 1 year after working there, because I was so afraid of them being like, "Oh, well, she has kids, so then she'll use that as an excuse." And I'm like, no, like, I can do it. I can show up. I can do whatever. And I did miss awards. I actually missed my daughter's 8th grade graduation. I was in Seattle working for the company, and it's nothing against the company. It was just me afraid. And again, I have colleagues who are over here from India and Tijuana, and they don't get a chance to see their family. So if they were bringing their full selves, I was like, well, I could be able to do the same thing. And I think that that really sort of hindered me because they didn't get to know the full person of me. Like they didn't know
Mm.
my kid's name, like anything. And I wanted that, but it was just the fear of in the past when I did share that, like people like use that against me or be like, oh, well, you're not ready for a promotion because you have a family. And I love that you did and it worked out well for you. And so I hope that people I hope people listening to this will know, like, please lead with your reality, as a way for you to really be your authentic self. I don't
Yes.
think that Facebook really got the full transparency of me, like, until, like, the end of it, but it was just the scare of, like, what happened before in the past. So, because this happened at other companies, then I don't want this to, be the case and be looked at as the person who is a mom and a wife, and that's all I'll ever be. So, I wanted them to just see me. That's what they presented, and that's why I asked that question because I really did love how you brought your full self.
That's so good. And I want to say something here so that we share, because this is also something that I don't think that we normalize, is allowing people not to choose us, right? You had this fear that, oh, I may not get promoted. But if that's not, if you're not being your true self, if you're not bringing your reality, so now even if you get the promotion, right? So you're in this position, and I'm sure that your journey through Facebook and beyond, you've realized that, you know what, by me not showing up in my full self, I wasn't able to get what I really needed from that opportunity. Right. And so, what I learned in bringing my full self and my reality to the table is, if I allow people not to choose me, and I'm going to tell you something, that is not something that I have done my entire life. I had to learn that. And so now, and I believe this just from what I've shared on social media, is I have heart disease, right? I was diagnosed 15 years ago. And so there will be times where I have to go through extensive testing, and I'm having echocardiograms, or I'm seeing the cardiologist. I lead with that. When I have working relationships, because I want someone to choose the reality, and not choosing me based on the pretense of me being able to show up as Superwoman. I am going to take the office visit. I'm going to schedule the appointment. I am going to have my yearly, or even if they have me come in twice a year for an echo. So I want to see more of us in this space. And it's not, with discretion, right? I'm not saying that you tell it all your business and you put everything out there, but with discretion, share your reality based on what you deem important. But if you are in a place where you feel like, I can't share this, because that might not be the position and role for you. So I wanted to just put a pin there.
Oh, no, I love that. I love that. And as you stated, it's often us. It was me taking it in, thinking, oh, if I do this, then and it was never that case. Like the moment they found out, it was like, oh, wow, like I actually have even more respect for you. Like you were able to do this. And, oh, how are your kids? And what happened was, I will never forget, I was on a call and my phone kept ringing. You put your phone on do not disturb, and it was the, school, and they were like, they were taking my son to the hospital, and I didn't get a chance to put myself on mute, and I'm like, "What?" Like, so they literally got to see a real and raw moment. I'm like, "Where is he? What happened?" Like, so, when you're a mom, I'm like, "Oh my god, my son," and they're like, "Wait, you got a son? Like, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, my son, I gotta get to him," and everybody literally, like, flooded my inbox and was like, like, "We're praying for you, and we're doing well wishes for you," and it really, like, lowered this, like, "Oh my god, like, everybody is human too," but it was hard because I was, number 1, out of a team of, let's say, 50 people. I was the only Black person, not Black woman, not Black man, like, Black person, period.
Okay.
And then on top of that, I think there were only 3 of us who had kids. Everybody else did not have kids. So
Yes,
that again, it was the fear of, like, I don't want them to think anything. And it was again my own. It
it
was
was
my
your
own
own
thing.
story, your
No
own
one
narrative.
else said anything. No one else was like, Lovely, you can't do this. Like, no, like it actually opened up more conversations. They were like, well, how's your kids? And they would want to know more about me. So then we created this MetaMate, get to know your MetaMate. And so, like my team, we created this game where it was okay. Well, how many kids do they have? How many siblings do they have? And it really was a great opportunity. So for those of you all who want for people to get to know about you, but to know about you in a fun way, we would meet every Friday or once a month, just depending on our season. And it would literally be like we would go for different team members. And so we would say, like, okay, what countries haven't we been to? Or like, how many siblings do you have? Where did you go to school? What did you study? It was really a great way to get to know other people. And then it got conversations like, wow, you have five sisters? Like I didn't know this about you. So I
Yes.
do agree with you. Like leading with your reality is really great. And a way to sort of like double down on that is literally whatever your company name is, just do it. Like, so for us at Facebook, because we've transitioned from Facebook to Meta, so we're called MetaMates instead of teammates, we're called MetaMates. So
Nice.
it's get to know your MetaMate.
Yeah,
And so maybe even for your own business, like as you hire new people, like how can we get to know them? And,
that's
they
good.
pick like 7 different things, like what's their favorite movie? It's just a good way of like lowering the barrier, but a way to like open it up for conversations.
That's good. And for you to be able to realize that it was something that it was pressure you were putting on yourself, right? And so that's the other thing. It goes back to, it's this dance that we do in life. Oftentimes we worry about the things that others are not even concerned with, but we put so much pressure on ourselves. So that's work that we have to do internally, right? So it's not even about, what you share and how you share it. It's more you're worried about something that someone hasn't even put that pressure on you. You put it on yourself. So that's good. I'm glad that it worked out for you, and I'm glad that you were able to not only take what you felt as a pressure, but to turn it into something that would help someone else now coming into the organization. So you turned it around.
Yes, yes, yes. But I didn't realize that I did that, but now, like, talking about it, that's why I tell people, I'm like, dude, our resumes are so vast. We have
So
so much that we could be able to do. Because now I'm like, oh, I need to put that on my resume that I helped
yes,
us to get
absolutely.
to go back into corporate America, like just let y'all know like what I did with our team. And so
Yeah,
I love this. I was sharing this with someone else, like everybody should be on a podcast. Podcasts are so healing. I
yes.
mean, it really is the stuff that I hadn't thought about this in years. And then seeing you again, and I'm like, girl, I remember this. And literally my mind is like playing the fact that we were on the drive and we would be sitting outside our car and just talking in front of
Yeah.
Magnolia for an
Oh my
hour.
God. Yes. And we still carry that, right? We still
Yes,
carry that fuel with us. And so we have a responsibility. And this is why I love what you're doing with the podcast, is that you are reminding others that, you know what, this is what we need to do to get to where we're going. Right. We have
yes,
to we have to
absolutely.
fuel each other. 15 years later, we're still going.
Yes.
Yes.
And honestly, that leads me to one of my questions for you. Our previous guest, so what we do on the Powerhouses of the global corporate stage, we ask our previous guests what's a question that they would like to ask our next guest. And I will say I got this from the Diary of a CEO because I really love that podcast. I love to listen to it, and all the people that he has. But I really thought that this was really great because theirs is about CEOs, ours is about corporate inspiration. corporation, working in corporate, how you navigate that. And this goes from everybody. Like for those of you who are listening, this means if you are a janitor, if you are a coder, if you are the secretary, if you are a nurse, a teacher, I want to hear your story because there is somebody who wants to be in your shoe. There's someone who wants to be able to go further and they need your encouragement. So I really suggest you connect with me on LinkedIn. But the question for you was, what really drives you?
Great question. What drives me? Family, family, legacy. What am I teaching my husband? What is he teaching me? But I am driven by family and legacy because long after I'm gone, my children will have an opportunity. I don't know if it'll be podcasting or what it will be, but I look at the situation to say, I hope that my prayer is that they carry on what I've instilled in them when it comes to this work, and not just work from a professional perspective, but the work that we do in our family. So I'm driven by family. I'm driven by legacy.
Yeah, I love that. I would say for me, what is driving me lately is meaningful connections. I think with this podcast, I am connected to so many people, and it's reconnected me. Like, I have had an honor of like being with you, and I watch you and follow you all over. I'm always hard in something, just letting people know that I'm excited about it. But to hear it and hearing your journey and being reminded like, wow, connected to some powerful people. Like it's a really great to have these meaningful connections. And connecting with you, I'm like, oh my God, I actually know these other people who are looking for coders and they're looking to be bought out in other companies that I'm working with and doing things like, how can we navigate this and put this into the space? So it's really incredible. That's what's really driving me lately. Like these meaningful connections that I'm getting with people and reconnecting with those who are part of my past. Like I'm so, so grateful. So now you have to ask a question for our next podcast guest. What is a question that you would like to ask them? Or I
Yes.
have them answer.
Yeah. I'd like to ask the next person that you have the opportunity to share space with. I'd like to ask them what's stopping them from reaching their highest potential.
Ooh, what's stopping them from
What
reaching
what
their
is the
highest
thing?
potential? Oh, that's a good question. Oh my gosh, because then that begs the question, okay, well, what is my potential? What is it? Oh, that's a good one. Oh, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to answer that. So before we go, I thank you so much. But how can people reach out to you? How can they connect with you? Let us know about your company again before you leave us.
So you can reach me on Instagram and Facebook. Davetta Hammond. You can reach out to virenthealth.com. There is messaging there. You can send us a message. I am open and available to, I say this, I'll probably regret it, but you can DM me. You can send me a direct message and I will respond. Like I said, when I think about someone reaching out, just making sure that your intentions are that you're ready to go to the next level. Because as you know, I am teacher and student all in the same person. So when you reach out to me, just be ready to go to the next level.
Yes, I love that. So powerhouses. I think we learned a few things today. Number one, a powerhouse knows their worth. Number two, a powerhouse leads with their reality. And then number three, a powerhouse is someone that has the intention to go to the next level. And I think that she has done that for my career. I know so many other people who speak so positive, especially our physicians. Thank you so much for the company, Universal American. I think they're now Cinti Corporation now. Like they've been a few
They've been,
names that
yes,
they transitioned into,
yeah,
but it was really great that Houston allowed us a home. Thank you so much for
yes,
coming on the podcast, Powerhouses of the Global Corporate Stage. We
yes,
had Dr. Davetta Hammond. She is truly a corporate inspiration. So, to all of our corporate inspiration, if you are looking for a medical coder and you want to know how can you grow your career, listen, you can make money. Okay. I know
yes,
most people they like, oh, it's just $20. No, you can make a lot of money being a medical coder. You just need to be able to have the right people, have the right careers. So definitely connect with her on Instagram, Facebook, especially LinkedIn. Y'all know I love LinkedIn. I hope you
yes.
all have a magnificent day. Excited to see the people who careers and lives